I guess I wasn't sure how to start this off because the last time I was on was before a attempted shooting. It was before JD Vance was picked. But the one thing I feel like I wanted to add to that conversation that I haven't seen talked about many other places, I wanted to talk about the Christian reaction to the shooting because it seems like over the past week, a number of Christian conspiracy theorists have looked to the Bible, as they always do, to explain why Donald Trump may have survived the assassination attempt against him, as if only God can explain why Trump turned his head like half a degree and saved his life or something like that, as if God is the explanation for why a bullet only grazed his ear instead of doing something far more lethal. And the way they've done this is by latching on to one particular Bible verse. And I wanted to show it to you here. This is Ephesians 6:11. And I just highlighted the NIV version of this, but check out what it says. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So the people who are quoting this like to say Donald Trump put on the armor of God and he's fighting against the devil. And like, it's amazing how many Christians have cited this verse as justification for why his life was spared. I wanted to show you some examples of this. Check this out. This is, I'm just going to show you a series of tweets and X's. I don't know what they're called anymore. He was shot at 6:11 p.m. Ephesians 6:11 reads the thing I just showed you. God spared Trump. No matter what your stance is politically, we all saw a miracle with our own eyes. God has big plans for him. Hashtag USA. First of all, anytime they say we all saw a miracle, keep in mind that the same gunman actually literally killed another guy, a Trump supporter, within seconds of the attempted shot at Trump. So, like, we all saw a miracle, which is that some other Trump supporter was murdered by an assassin, and two others are critically injured. Like, in what way is that a miracle? Just because your main character didn't die doesn't mean it's a miracle. That's like thanking a serial killer for taking a night off. No, you don't have to hand it to them. Stop it. But again, it's not just this one. Here's another one. This is from Truth Social. Whoa, at 6:11, gunshots were heard. Take a look at Ephesians 6:11 and then the verse. Look at this picture. Look at it. There's Trump speaking. There is an angel made of armor standing behind him. Not touching his head, by the way. I'm not sure how that protects Trump, but there you go. Just a very burly, muscular man standing behind Trump with flowing blonde hair. You know they spent a lot of time painting this picture. But okay, again, there's Ephesians 6:11. Just to run through a couple more, this is more MAGA people just quoting the same verse. Here's another conspiracy theorist. The bullets were fired at 6:11. Ephesians 6:11. No even attempt to connect the dots, just putting it out there. This guy is a Florida like state lawmaker saying the exact same thing. But you get the picture. Everyone seems to be doing this. And this is from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. This is from a U.S. representative from Florida, Corey Mills. And check out what he said at a crowd of Wisconsin delegates on Wednesday. Go read Ephesians 6:11, the Florida Republican congressman said, and you will understand exactly why he has been saved and why we continue to move forward. I truly believe that what saved Donald Trump was divine intervention, the same divine intervention that murdered a retired firefighter who was using his body to apparently shield his kids from also dying. That's divine. That's God's good graces that murdered that guy. And one last one. They're actually selling apparel with that Bible verse on it because that's like a Trump thing now. So that's what's going on here. They're all promoting the exact same verse. And everyone's doing it. I'm going to show you a clip in a little bit of a Trump campaign spokeswoman who also cited this thing. But the thing that I don't get about this particular verse is that none of these people bothered to look anywhere else in the Bible. They found the verse that they liked and they just ran with it. And the thing is, I know it took place, they said at like 6:11 the shots were fired, but the thing is there was actually nothing telling them to go to Ephesians. They could have gone anywhere in the Bible. Why did they pick that verse? And so I was wondering, like, what are the other chapters that have, like, chapter 6 verse 11? What are the other books of the Bible that have the same numbers? Because I looked at those and guess what? They tell a very different story. Like, why didn't they go to the book of Genesis? You would think that's the first book of the Bible. That might be interesting, right? Guess what Genesis 6:11 says? Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. Like, that seems to explain why Trump might have gotten murdered. Like, why couldn't we cite this one? I mean, they purposely did not. Here's another one. This is from Ezra, the book of Ezra 6:11. Furthermore, I decree that if anyone defies this edict, a beam is to be pulled from their house and they are to be impaled on it. And for this crime, their house is to be made a pile of rubble. I assume it's God talking. Maybe it's not. But the point is, this is a very violent verse right there. How about Ezekiel 6:11? This is what God says. Strike your hands together and stamp your feet and cry out, alas, because of all the wicked and detestable practices of the people of Israel, for they will fall by the sword, famine, and plague. The evil Israelites that God really didn't like, they would be destroyed by a weapon. Feel like if something bad happened to Trump, they could have cited this one. I also like this one from Jeremiah. But I am full of the wrath of the Lord, and I cannot hold it in. Pour it out on the children in the street, and on the young men gathered together. Both husband and wife will be caught in it, and the old, those weighed down with years. Whoever is full of the wrath of the Lord is just like, get rid of everybody. The Bible says let's just destroy all these innocent people who did absolutely nothing wrong. One last one. Proverbs 6:11. And poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. Again, why did they choose Ephesians when there were so many more interesting verses they could have gone with, right? Like, no one reads the Bible. They just cherry pick whatever the hell they want and run with it. And none of them bothered to see, like, I wonder what the Bible says about, chapter 6, verse 11, anywhere else in the book. We found the part we like. We're all going to quote it. We're all going to cite it. We're all going to have the t-shirts that say it. And then we'll put the little ear bandage plastic thing, whatever, on their face because it's a cult. And they're all running with it. And then, get this, here's the funniest thing I read about all of this. Because again, it's not a funny situation, but funniest thing I read about this. Check this one out right here. This is an ABC News story from the day, or this was updated yesterday, but check this out. They learned some more about the shooter. Yeah. But look at this. The shooting happened at 6:12 p.m. Eastern time. It wasn't even 6:11. The officials looking into this are like, yeah, it didn't happen at 6:11. It happened at 6:12, which obviously not a big deal. But if you're going to quote 6:11, I mean, get the timing right. So then I was like, well, what does Ephesians 6:12 say? Guess what it says? Let us read it together. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. I'm just saying, if someone got seriously injured at that rally and Trump was the victim, you could make an argument that this is what God wanted. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm saying if you cherry pick Bible verses, you're going to end up with commentary like this. And by the way, as far as I could tell from what I've read from the reporting, it looked like the shooter, who was a registered Republican, wasn't even out to get Trump per se. his phone history suggests he was just out to cause destruction against any high ranking political leader, and Trump just happened to come to his town. But imagine for a second if it was Biden that this happened to, how many Christians would be citing some of these other verses to say, this is what God wanted. God was warning us this whole time. You allow abortion in the blue states, and this is what's going to happen. You know that's how this would play out. There's no rhyme or reason to any of it. If you're looking to a sign from God to explain a tragedy, you will grasp at anything. Okay. And look, I don't begrudge people who are so desperate to find some kind of meaning in the wake of a tragedy. That is a very human thing to want to do. But at the very least, I think it's irresponsible for journalists to let Trump's campaign staff get away with saying this sort of stuff, because they are, without any kind of pushback. And by the way, like I said, this may have happened at 6:12, so maybe all of this is moot anyway. It's ridiculous. I didn't have much more I wanted to add to that. I wasn't going to talk about JD Vance specifically. I'm just riffing here. He is maybe more dangerous than Trump in many ways, and the main one is he believes everything Trump believes, whether he's sincere about it or not. But he's younger, he's slightly more charismatic in terms of sounding like a normal person, and he's like half of Trump's age, and that makes him dangerous because he's the sort of conservative Catholic who wants no exceptions for abortion, no rape, no incest exemption. He wants to ban it across the board. He wants to implement pretty much everything in Project 2025. In a way, I'm kind of glad Trump picked him because he provides no benefits to the ticket. He's just more Trump. They're not trying to win over new voters. They're just doubling down on their base, which that's the best case scenario for Democrats. I will say, as of this taping, Joe Biden is still the nominee. The polling doesn't look good for him. I kind of hope he steps. I do. I hope he steps down within the next few days. And I hope we get, whether it's Kamala Harris, whether it's an open convention where people can nominate someone else, I think that is the best path forward to give Democrats the best chance of keeping whatever they can keep, whether it's the White House, the House. I don't know about the Senate, but that might be the best path forward. But JD Vance being the vice presidential candidate is the best option if you're a Democrat, because he's horrible. I also found it interesting that his wife is Indian, like myself, and she's Hindu. And I am so curious what that conversation is like at home, because as far as I can tell, she worked for a relatively progressive law firm as for the past few years. I know she clerked for like John Roberts on the Supreme Court. She clerked for Brett Kavanaugh before he was on the Supreme Court. And she went to Yale Law School, which produces a lot of conservative judges and lawyers. But by and large, I mean, if you're coming from an immigrant family, if you're uh, working at a progressive law firm, I'm very curious, not what she said about JD Vance introducing him when he gave his speech. Well, you know what I would love to see? I would love to see the group chat by her relatives in their WhatsApp. Like, show me that. I want to know what her relatives were saying about her when she was trying to build up Trump and JD Vance and stuff. Because, like, there's got to be some cognitive dissonance going on there. And I kind of love the idea of having Republicans have to defend having a Hindu person on their ticket, because that doesn't make them happy. They flipped out when a Sikh woman from California, a GOP leader, gave like an invocation prayer this week, and she's one of them. She loves Republicans, and they still got mad about that. They called it like a pagan prayer and stuff. So whatever, that's their problem. Let them deal with it. But anyway, I think I will stop there for now. I'm going to move on to other stories in a second, but I will gladly take questions right now, and we'll move on then. While Den pulls those up, I'm going to move this up. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. I appreciate the donation. You made a live stream. Congrats. And I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. This actually makes I assume you're talking about Trump. This actually makes him fit even more as the Antichrist because of the things the Bible says, the verses 6:11, all those things. I don't know what Revelation 13:14 says. Maybe Den can look it up, but thank you, Olivia, for that donation. Oh, because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. Well, there you go. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. Interesting. What other questions we got here? Don't use my own logic on me, MAGA, probably. No kidding. I'm so curious if Biden steps down and Harris is the presumptive nominee at that point. Whoa, let's close this door. And Harris is the presumptive nominee at this point. I'm very curious who she would choose as a running mate, mostly because there are so many good options. Like, I don't know if they would do an open convention or something, but like, there are so many good, powerful Democrats who don't have any of the problems that Biden does when he's speaking or anything, and are really good communicators. And I would love to see what they do if they can get in front of the cameras and get more attention on a wider scale. That would be really fun. Um, I'm kind of curious what a Kamala Harris Gretchen Whitmer ticket would look like, but I don't know that I trust other Americans to vote for two women, even though I would like that. But there are so many good options. Like Jamie Raskin is sitting right there. He's great. I don't know. Anyway, what else we got? In all seriousness, for Trump, it's all performance art. He's a literal textbook narcissist. I know he was in my Psych 101 textbook in 2006. Fits the definition. And the amazing thing is he got the entire Republican Party, like, he's taken it over. If there's one thing I saw in all the speeches I saw this week, they're not talking about ideas. They don't want people to know about their ideas because their ideas are like, let's just ban abortion in the blue states too. So they don't want to talk about those ideas, which means every speech you see is only about how amazing Trump is. Which again, everyone has their opinion on Trump already. Whose mind are you really changing at this point? I don't know. But it's kind of amazing to me. Like, it's not a joke to call that a cult. They're very much a one person, like a one guy thing. And guess what? If Trump wasn't here because of what happened last week, what do you think this convention would be like? Yeah, there would be different people at the top of the ticket, but it would be pretty much the same convention because the only thing they know is how to praise Trump as if everything he does is perfect. And people who actually understand the facts and follow politics, like, that's not actually what he did, how it works. He's not good at policy, but it's a personality cult, and it's scary.